start by asking you, in terms of what the good news is, because your guidance is between 7 to 9%, which is much lower than the industry average as per NASSCOM's estimate. You've talked about how you see a gestation period increasing as far as decision-making cycle is concerned. You talk about how discretionary spending has decreased, and perhaps that is likely to be the case going forward. So in the midst of all of this, what really is the good news? I'll start with you, BG.
Okay, Shereen, if you look at midst of one, the fact that the macro environment is stable, there is definitely pressure in our client organizations on the overall spend, and there hence definitely a bit more pressure on the discretionary spend. In spite of all that, what we are seeing is our revenue growth, what we have projected, is between 7 to 9 for the full year. It is coming on back of a weak quarter that was Q4. And if you try and normalize that, you will see that the overall revenue growth for the full year on an 8 billion revenue base is pretty decent. We are also saying that our revenue is continuing to be broad-based. We are going to get revenue growth from the various industry vertical sectors, including manufacturing, financial services, retail CPG, energy utilities. Our revenue will continue to be broad-based with respect to the revenues from Europe, from the US, Australia. So as we get into the fiscal year 2015, we are saying that in spite of some of the challenges our client organizations are facing, we are still well positioned with our capabilities in all the three domains.
BG, again, I don't want to get down to the numbers because the numbers have been discussed to the last decimal point through the day today. Let me just give you a sense of what the brokerage reaction has been, and there is a sense of relief that this time there is no surprise, and surprises when it comes to Infosys over the last several quarters have been associated with negative surprise. So analysts are just relieved with the fact that there is no negative surprise to contend with as far as Infosys is concerned this quarter. For a company that was once the sort of trendsetter as far as the earnings growth were concerned, which was the barometer for the earnings performance for the industry, it really has been a big come down in that sense. How do you change now this perception as far as Infosys is concerned?
See, as far as we are concerned, in the last couple of years, while we had some challenges, we are on a transformation journey ourselves. We have transformed ourselves to be much more responsive to our clients. We are building in capabilities in line with our clients' expectation and also some of the market trends which we want to be ahead of the race. So we are simply focused on making sure on a quarterly basis, one, we will drive performance, we will drive a certain degree of predictability given the environment around us which continues to be challenging and uncertain. At the same time, if you look at our client organizations, they are extremely happy with the kind of work which we are doing for them and helping them both driving their revenues and most importantly taking cost out. So while we cannot necessarily react to every prediction out there, we are very clearly focused on accelerating growth, making sure we have good profits, and that's something you have seen in the last 3 quarters. We improved upon our profitability and bringing in a higher degree of prediction. Client organizations look at value adds, they look at, again, predictability in our delivery service performance, and that's something we are doing. As far as employees are concerned, exactly similar. Employees are looking at growth opportunities, predictability in their compensation reviews, promotions, and that's something we have already announced in the month of March.
Let me ask you, because BG talked about how the focus is really going to be on agility, it's going to be on predictability. What the market is also perhaps expecting now from Infosys is sort of a burst of new energy and enthusiasm. It's less conventional thinking, more out-of-the-box thinking, more innovative thinking. Is that something that the company and the management is focusing on at this point in time?
See, I think if you look at the nature of our business, there are 3 parts to our business. There is the transformation bit, which we call consulting and system integration. Then we have the operations bit, which is the business and IT services, and then we have the innovation, which is the product and platform. So if you look at our mix, we have a fairly large mix in the consulting and system integration, product and platform. So in that sense, I think we are definitely doing a lot of exciting work, a lot of work in areas where technologies are in the early stages, where many of them will become mainstream 3 to 5 years down the line. So from a work perspective, I think from the balance of portfolio perspective, we are already doing that. And part of our problem today in terms of predictability is our focus on this. Because the very nature that we are focusing on some part of our business on the discretionary side, that lends us to some degree of volatility, and that is where we have seen some challenges of predictability. But from exciting, from new things, I think if you look at where industry is heading, there is a lot of investment in SMAC area, but the ticket size is still small. In the last 12 to 18 months, I think we have already started investing a lot in the mobility side, on the big data side, on the cloud side. We are working with clients in terms of newer models. So I think from a foundation perspective and from the type of works we are already doing fair amount of exciting work. Where we are challenged is we are not doing well on the bread and butter side, and that's where some part of our focus is on in the last year or so.
Let me ask you about the sense that you get in terms of the timeline by when you believe you will be able to fix the bread and butter side of your business, and what is the big challenge that you face there? Because you're operating in the same environment that your peers are. Your peers are guiding much higher, much better than you are. So what is specific to Infosys' challenges when it comes to addressing the bread and butter part of your business is concerned?
I think it's, when you look at the bread and butter business, there are three parts to it. One is the infrastructure management services. The second big chunk is BPO. And the third thing is the regular application development and maintenance. So I think we are doing reasonably well on the application development maintenance, and our win rate has definitely improved over the last year or so. We are relatively not doing well on the infrastructure management services. I'm saying relatively because as a service line it is growing much faster than other parts of the business. Last year also it grew more than 20%, but today it contributes about 7% of our business. But when we compare with someone, for instance, TCS, I think about 12% of TCS business is infrastructure management services. So there is a lot of headroom for growth there. So this is one area where we were late entrant and now we are playing the catch up. So here we have to be patient. It's not that overnight you will be able to bridge the gap. So it will take 12, 18, 24 months for us to be a credible player in the market. Today we are winning more than our share of what we were doing earlier, but we still have ways to go here.
Before I let you go, I'm going to ask both of you an uncomfortable question. We know that the search has begun to find the new CEO and Managing Director for Infosys. The rumor mills are abuzz that both of you are possible contenders. I know it's perhaps unfair to ask the two of you, but are you looking forward to this process? Would this be something that the two of you would aspire for? Let me start with you, BG.
See, Infosys has been a dream company for many individuals to work for, and anybody who would want to occupy a CEO position definitely is a proud moment, and I have no hesitation in saying that yes, I'm happy to be in the race, and I'm sure, and I have a lot of respect for Pravin, and then I will let Pravin answer his aspiration.
Pravin, over to you.
Yeah, I've been with Infosys for 28 years, and definitely, it is always a privilege to be given the top position. But having said that, right now my focus is on, I've taken a new role as president, got inducted into board recently, so right now my focus is more on making my role effective, contributing to it, and I will let whatever happens will happen, so I'm not too worried about it. I'm just focusing on being a very effective president.